I'm super thrilled to be here in this first week of the new year, and even more excited to share with you some ways that you can step even more fully into sales conversations and overcome those objections. So many of you had a chance to check out the first sales training I did a couple of months ago, and I've gotten so much incredible feedback from you saying that, hey, I've signed new clients, or I used your process and it felt so much more authentic. And so you have been loving the sales trainings, and as a result, I wanted to bring you more to help you grow your coaching business even more. How do you overcome objections in sales? Meaning, you get on a call, you have this amazing connection, you can feel the energy shifting, everything feels like it's going fantastic, and then all of a sudden, you find yourself getting to the end of the call, sharing the offer, and you can feel this energy just die. Have any of you experienced that, where maybe you're in a conversation and you're like, this is going fantastic. There's so much resonancy, there's so much connection, there's so much just really fireworks happening between you and your prospect, and then all of a sudden something happens and the energy just goes away, right? And so that's what we want to talk about today, is how you can start overcoming objections in all parts of that sales conversation. All right, we ready to roll? Let's do it. What you guys are going to be learning today is the 4 methods, the 4 different areas to overcome objections before and after you make your offer, how to use bold confidence and honesty, like how to actually be willing to say the things that probably other coaches aren't willing to say, which is what exactly sets you apart in the marketplace, how to have your own red rope policy and how that creates more authority and credibility with your prospects. And the biggest thing that I can't wait to share is the counterintuitive way to squash your own fears that might be coming up when you're making an offer, as well as, while you're squishing your own fears, creating a high level of trust with your prospects. So lots of good stuff. So here's where we're going to start. The very first place that you can overcome objections before you're even at the end of the call is at the very beginning of the call. So when you hop on that call, and again, this might be a little repetitive to the first sales training that you've attended. If you haven't attended that one, check it out. But when you get on the call, you want to be sure that you're setting the agenda. One of the places where a lot of times those of us that really want to approach sales and marketing with a lot of integrity feel uncomfortable is when we are coming from this place of service and we're on this call with a prospect and we're truly coaching and serving and supporting and advising and all of those things that will help them go from where they want to be, where they are, to where they want to be. Is that then we're in this place of like massive service, caring, compassion, and empathy. And then it's that transition from being caring and compassionate to, now I'm going to sell you my stuff. And that's usually the little transition that can feel super awkward in the moment, because it's like, how do you make that transition? This is one way that you can make it much easier, is you set the agenda on the front end so that there's no surprise. So it doesn't feel like a big bait and switch sort of situation where it's, I'm here to help and I'm going to make you this offer. So I don't know about you guys, but I know that is something that has come up for me in the past, that it just doesn't feel right to be in this one space and then to go into this other space. And then all of a sudden we get all weird and awkward in our sales conversations. So one of the ways to overcome that is to be sure that in the front end, you are setting some agenda. And then also, let me share this too. A part of that agenda can be calling out the most common fears or objections that come up in your conversations. So I'll share an example with you. So I, a lot of times will say, just start the conversation, build a little rapport, connect in a little bit. I can usually feel if prospects feel nervous on the call. I'll validate and acknowledge that it's a big step for them to be stepping into even just this conversation, to really be putting themselves out there and opening up their life or their business for me to pick around in. So I do some acknowledging and validating right on the front end to alleviate some of that anxiety. And then after we get through that piece, I usually will say, would it be helpful if I shared with you how these calls typically unfold? And every single time they say yes, so it's getting that buy-in. After you get that buy-in, then you can share, here's what we're going to do. I have one intention, and that is to help you have the biggest impact that we can have on the short time that we have together today. That said, this stuff is complex. I don't think we're going to solve all of your life or business challenges in this 45-minute call, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you walk away with something really impactful. So that's the first agenda item that you're setting with the prospect. Then you go into the second agenda item, which is And if at the end of all of that, I know that I can help you, and I know that I can help you with a full solution and really for the sustainability of what you want to accomplish and achieve, I may share one of my coaching programs with you. So you're letting them know that at the end of this, if I feel like it's a fit or if I know I can help you, I'm going to be making an offer. Therefore, there is no surprises at the end. They know it's coming, maybe, if it's a fit, right? And we'll talk more about that in a minute too. And then you can say things like, and this is the calling out the fear, calling out the objection before it even comes up. And if it came to that point where I were to make an offer to do some deeper work together, don't be surprised if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. It might feel a little scary, the idea of making an investment in yourself or having to tell your husband about what you want to do. That's normal, but don't worry. I'm right by your side. I'm going to help you through everything to really ensure that whatever decision you make is the best decision for you. So you can see, you can also call out some of the objections. Like it would be normal to feel a little scared about stepping into hearing about an offer or stepping into a full solution or whatever it may be. So that is where you can set the stage on the front. So again, it doesn't feel awkward when you switch into it. It's full transparency. It's full honesty. It's really just coming from that authentic place of that it's the both and. So you guys probably have heard me say in a lot of training, sometimes we get stuck in this, like, it has to be either this or that. Either I'm coaching and serving or I'm making a sales offer. How can you always find the both and transparency and communication always does the trick. Okay, so this is one area that when you do this on the front end, it's going to save you some awkwardness and uncomfortableness on the back end. So let's talk about now, after you then go into your sales conversation. So now you're getting into the crux of it, but you're really diving in. What do they want? Where do they want to go? Where are they now? What solutions have they tried? Why haven't they worked? What's missing from the current solution? Like all of those pieces, again, that's in the other sales training that we already did. So now that's like the crux of your conversation. Now you're getting to the piece where you're actually transitioning to your offer. Okay, you've uncovered all of the nuggets that you need to know. Wow, I know I can really help this person. I can really help them accomplish their goals and achieve what they are setting out to do. Here's the transition piece. The first part of the transition is to summarize the gap. This is stage 2, moving into the offer. So when I say summarize the gap, it's uncovering where they are and where they want to be. It might sound something like, so far what we've covered is that you really want XYZ. And if you had that, it would mean XYZ for your life. And it would make this difference for you. And one of the challenges that you're having with getting XYZ is this. So you're just summarizing the information. It's really just validating or acknowledging you understand the full picture and you're summarizing it for them so they can see the full picture. So after you summarize the gap, then you can move into what I call your red rope policy. And it can start with, you can say, so here's the thing, given all of that information, there's a few things that tell me whether or not it would make sense for us to work together. So the red rope policy is, what are the qualities, the non-negotiables that you have for the clients that you want to serve? So for me personally, I just know that I'm a coach that loves to focus on results and action, and my clients are typically really independent. So I'm not a coach that loves to spend a lot of time in kind of the level 1, for those of you that are iPad coaches, but the need a lot of validation. I'm happy to coach around it, but generally speaking, if it's like they want to stay in needing to be handheld and need a lot of attention and are needy, not coming from a judgment place, I'm just not the best coach. Some coaches are phenomenal. I have a really good friend who's a coach, and she just could hold that space and be in that space of pain for a very long time with her clients. And it is such a massive gift to those clients. Not my cup of tea. So once you're really clear on the clients you love to serve, the clients you love to help, create a little list of your red rope policy, like what it would take for people to come into working with you. This is another mistake that I see so many coaches make, especially in the beginning of their practice, because they're like, I just want some clients. Like, I'm willing to help anybody. But I'm telling you that when you are partnering up with the clients that really aren't the best fit for you, 1, it becomes exhausting. 2, it takes up space and energy that could be invested in finding the clients that are a good fit for you. And 3, what I see happen over and over again is confidence starts to wane. Because when you're not super excited about the people that you're working with, maybe not getting the best results, there's an energetic disconnect. And then all of a sudden you start feeling like a crappy coach. And then you start questioning yourself. And am I even good at this? And all of those pieces. So this red rope policy is crucial. It may feel, and it's coming from an abundance mindset, like so many of the trainings we talked about. It's coming from a knowing that you are meant to serve a certain type of person and that are in energetic alignment with you, and keep the space for those people. Be selective. And sometimes you might not know exactly who your right fit clients are, but you'll figure that out as you start and continue coaching along. So this is where you then can share. So you've summarized the gap, and now you can say, okay, so listen, here's the thing. Based on what you've shared with me, I know that I can help you accomplish XYZ goal and where you want to go. That said, I'm really selective and know exactly who I can help the most. And here are some of the qualities of the people that I love to serve and that we make the most magic when we work together and when we partner on creating this result. And then you can go in, if you know that the person that you just talked to is you really just felt that deep connection, then you can say, and here are some of the things I've observed in you that lead me to know that this is a great fit, that it would be a great fit for us to partner and explore this full solution for you. Now, here's the next piece. If you have some questions, you're like, it could be a good fit, maybe not. If you feel yourself waffling, there's a way for you to test the client in a way, just to see how serious they are and where they're at. You've already served them in immense ways by uncovering their big vision and kind of some of the coaching you did earlier on. And so this is one of the ways that you can test people that maybe you're on the fence for. Maybe they mostly meet your criteria, but there's a couple things you're like, I don't know if I'm the best fit for you. You can use FOMO, fear of missing out. So again, without being manipulative, but genuinely being able to say, listen, I know that I could help you, yet there's just a couple of things that lead me to believe that maybe now is not the right time for us to partner, or maybe now is not the right time, or maybe you're really not quite ready for the transformation that you're saying you really want. It's not coming from a judgmental place. It's just coming from I'm not so sure I can help you get the results that you're looking for based on these couple of things that would make it more likely. So when you do this, when you state concern about the prospect's readiness and you're bold, it's always for their benefit. I call it a truth bitch slap. So sometimes it's calling out, this is what coaching a lot of times is, right? It's calling out the things from a place of love and service that our clients aren't willing to see in themselves, or they're too scared, or if you're picking up on fear, whatever it may be, this is the place that you can start calling some of those things out. Again, anybody who's hiring you, they're not hiring a friend. They don't want to make a massive investment to make a good friend. They're hiring you to tell them the things that will help them get the results that they want to get, which always means some level of discomfort or uncomfortability. And so why not have that experience right in the conversation? And so one of two things happen when you go into this bold place. And again, you find your own way to do it about how direct you want to be or how bold you want to be. You can do it with a lot of empathy. You can do it with a lot of care. You can do it with a lot of compassion. The key is just knowing that your intention behind it is to help them experience another level of a breakthrough. So that's FOMO if appropriate. When you're moving into the offer, summarize the gap. Let them know that you know exactly who you're meant to serve and who you work with the best. Let them know how they fit into that kind of red rope, if they're getting through the red rope policy, or if they aren't quite, use the fear of missing out, meaning I'm not so sure you're ready right now, and that's perfectly okay, and using some of that detachment. So I was going to say, one of two things happen when you do this. One, the client will start to fight for themselves, meaning, what do you mean I'm not ready? And that is awesome, because that's telling you they are ready for the breakthrough. They're ready for the breakthrough that can come with the coaching. If they say, you know what, maybe you're right, this just isn't probably, I don't know what I was thinking, or if they start shriveling up, then you just know that they didn't already have the confidence before you even stated your price or your offer. They really weren't in a position to say yes to their big vision in that moment. And that's okay. They're on their journey. It's perfectly okay. This is some of the stuff, like I can even feel like myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like some of the trade secrets that I feel like anxious even sharing with you all, because one, I just want to be really clear that any and every one of these kind of strategies that I'm sharing is truly coming from an intention of service to the person that's in front of you. That's the thing that differentiates sales from feeling awkward and needy and desperate to truly being helpful and caring for the person in front of you. If at any time you're employing some of these strategies and the intention is to secure the client, you've officially just become salesy and weird and awkward and gross. So long as you can still really hold the space for your client and know that the intention of the truth bitch slap and the intention of the FOMO and the intention of the red rope policy is to be of service, then that's when these tactics really work. So let me check in. How is this resonating with you? This whole leading into, now you haven't even made the offer yet. This is the leading into the offer and the transition to the offer. Deb, exactly. Sales is communicating value. Love that you're bringing this up because the value is shown definitely when we're summarizing the gap. And then the value piece will come when we talk about making the offer as well. And this is the piece about also showing our value. When we have a red rope policy, it's showing, one, we're definitely not desperate. It builds trust and credibility. There's just something about saying, I really don't work with these people or this niche or this area, or this isn't my area of expertise. Let me refer you or connect you to somebody whose it is. So that's another thing. It's really honoring our own value and not trying to be the jack of all trades. How do you make it so that the client doesn't feel they are being rejected and opening up a whole can of emotional worms? Love this question, Tammy. So again, everything boils down to the intention that we're coming from. So they're not responsible for other people's triggers, right? And so long as we are coming from the highest level of intention that we can come from, and that's where, yes, we are going to be opening up a big old can of worms if it's really about us and judging people. And again, if it's coming from a place of judgment, like you're not ready and you suck and I would never want to work with you, you're whiny pain in my butt. Obviously, we're going to open up a can of emotional worms. But when we're coming from that place of, I'll share an example. Actually, there was one client who came into my mastermind a couple of years ago and we were on the phone. She attended one of my live events and she wanted to have a conversation, and we got on the phone and she was really, I don't know if I want to do a business or if I don't want to do a business. I want to, but I don't. And she was really waffly. She really didn't know what she wanted. And so in that call, I just said, it sounds like there's a lot of fear about pursuing your big vision. And frankly, I like working with people who want to go for it. And that's who I work best with. And if you need somebody to help you make the decision about yes or no, then I'm not the right coach for you. There's other coaches that will be fantastic at supporting and serving you with that. But if you're ready to put a stake in the ground and say, I'm all in, like I'm willing to figure it out and go for it, then we have something to talk about. So there's ways to, and immediately you're right, I'm scared. I said something that it was the truth that she had been hiding from herself all the way through. How is this waffling is just keeping you stuck? And if we were to choose to work together, it's all about getting unstuck. So I can help you break through, but I need to know if I help you break through, are you just going to go waffle again? Or do you want to really break through? So these are the moments where we're fighting our clients' gremlins for them. And it's knowing that's the stance that then inspires them to start fighting their own gremlins too. That's the partnership, right? That's the partnership that happens in coaching. So long as we are coming from an intention of service and not an intention of judgment, and this is the tricky piece. I think this is why I've been hesitant to even share all this, is I'll ask each and every one of you, because this is a huge opportunity. How do you, actually it just came up in a coaching session right before this training. How do you discern when you're coming from a place of judgment and when you're coming from a higher place, either intuition or service or compassion or empathy or honesty or some of those higher levels? Because as soon as you can discern and really get crystal clear when it's coming from a place of judgment versus a place like of all those other things that I just said, then you can know that you're really not opening up a can of emotional worms. And if you do, if a can of emotional worms is opened up, we are not responsible for other people's triggers. And because we're coaches, if it does come up and they're hurt, we know how to coach them around that. It's not our stuff. It's not our job to make everybody feel good. It's our job to show them how they can unpack their own bags to feel good. Let's move into, now we're actually making the offer. Okay, so you've gotten that place. Now you've established, yes, I think we'd be a great fit. Then you can say, this is where you can share some things. Here are some of the solutions that would really help you go from here to here. And would you like to know, now's where you're getting the buy-in again, would you like to know what you should do next to accomplish this goal? Right? So that's the buy-in. And they're like, yeah, tell me what to do next. And that's when you're moving into your offer. So you're moving into your offer, you're like, so my recommendation is my XYZ program. And during that program, where you're doing a wall of benefits based on what they shared. So the wall of benefits are, what are the benefits that they're actually looking for? So if you're like, oh, my coaching program helps you with find the love of your life, but they're like already married, obviously you're not going to share that benefit. Like that's an obvious one, but so often we're like, coaching does this and it does that and it does this and it does that. But really the only benefits that we want to share with our prospects are the benefits that they're actually looking for. They might not actually think they want more confidence. So why are we going to sell more confidence, right? So it's really sharing the benefits that they are stating in that conversation that they really want. So then you share your offer. And again, I go into the more specifics about sharing your offer in the previous training call, where you share your offer, you ask what they think the benefits would be for them. That's the magic question. And then you ask if they have any questions. Now, once they have their questions, this is where they're going to ask, what is the investment, or what is the cost, or how many times do we meet? Or they're going to start asking those logistical questions, right? Here's where, again, we're able to overcome objections. So we're overcoming them at the start of the call. We're overcoming them before we make the offer. Now we've made the offer. We've answered the logistical questions. Now this is the time where if there are objections that haven't been covered already in the other two stages, they're going to come up now. Okay, so once the objection comes, so you've made your offer, you stated the investment, you've gotten through the logistics. Now this is the place where you can overcome the objection in a couple of ways. One is you absolutely want to lean into the objection. So most people, they say, oh my gosh, there's an objection. Okay, that's fine, no big deal. Just call me when you're ready or whatever. Just get me out of this. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be like pushy. Oh, that just feels, this is the part that feels gross. Like, how do you overcome objections? And the thing is, lean into the objection. Again, this isn't to secure the sale. It's to peel back the layers of the onion about what the objection is really about. Okay, because so often what they say it actually is something much deeper. So when they say, oh, I can't afford that, it's, wait a second, we can just start leaning into it. Of course, this feels scary. This is a huge investment, right? So you start acknowledging, validating, and then you can start leaning into what about it is scaring you the most. So you can do some of that safety net coaching. What are you afraid would happen if you said to this vision and actually going for it and making this investment? And start going into what is the worst case scenario? Where could you end up? And coaching and leaning into the objection, playing with the objection. What would things look like if things didn't change? What would things look like if you didn't receive support? How long have you been trying to solve this challenge? What will happen if it's not solved, say, the next year? So have them start painting the picture. Ultimately, that's getting to, which fear do you want to choose? Which fear feels stronger for you right now? Is it the fear of staying the same, or is it the fear of stepping into the unknown and taking this risk? So you just want to start playing and leaning into any objection that might be coming up, and just feeling about, is this a fear-based choice or is it a conscious choice? So this is the key piece here, because this is a perfect example. I was up for renewal with one of my coaches, and I didn't have an objection, but it was a conscious choice for me to not continue that work, to not to continue to engage that particular coach. So it's like being able to lean into it to say, and you knowing that your only goal is, I just want to support this client in making a conscious choice, a choice that is aligned with who they are, their values, and their vision, and not aligned with their fear. So if that's your intention, you can lean into, you can ask anything you want, as long as you ask it with curiosity and respect, knowing that you're just trying to uncover, is this a fear-based objection, or is this an actual conscious objection? So for example, if the objection is money, and they're saying, I literally wouldn't be able to feed my kids or put food on the table or put a roof over my head if I were to step into this investment. And I have no resources. I can't tap any of the resources. Seriously, they're all tapped. Then clearly that's a realistic objection. So then it's, wow, then this is, I would never want to put anybody in that sort of compromising situation. Right? But if it's like they haven't really even looked at other resources and it's going to cost them more to stay the same. So just lean into it, have the conversation. There's nothing to be afraid of. Again, this is the money talk, right? So a lot of times people will shy away, but It's just money. And we're just trying to help people make the best choice to get what they want out of their life. The other thing that can be really powerful when you're overcoming objections is, especially if you start feeling nervousness yourself, so this is when our own fears a lot of times will come up, is then we'll start shying away. So one of the easiest ways to overcome our own fears, if we're feeling our own weird fears coming up at this moment, is to call ourselves out. To say, oh my gosh, I'm so terrified of sounding like a pushy salesperson because I would never want to do that. But the coach in me just can't let the fact that there's a huge fear here showing up for you go, right? So call yourself out and say, like, the coach in me can't let this go. My job is to help people break through fear, or my job is to help people stretch themselves into their potential, or my job. And so I'm going to go here, even though it feels weird for me. And I just want to tell you, I'm truly coming from this space of I'm a coach first and foremost, and I can't just turn it off. And then maybe asking permission, something like that. So yeah, so that's the other thing that immediately, and if you think about that's for everything, like anywhere and everywhere that you can call yourself out, you make your business so much easier. Like actually, I just did it on this call. I said, I'm even anxious or nervous about talking about this because I'd hate for somebody to take it in a way that's being manipulative, because that's the last thing that I stand for. And there's something about just saying, oh, I have these feelings coming up and just owning them. And then as soon as we own them, they just go away. So you can do that when you're doing videos, you can do that in sales calls, you can do that in workshops. The minute you just call out the experience that you're having that feels like kind of an emotion that you don't want to be having, anxiousness, fear, whatever it is, it goes away. So use it in sales calls, why not? Okay, so that is overcoming the general objections. Now I'm going to talk about, there's one particular objection that seems to come up over and over again. I'm going to type it in here. How many of you guys have heard this one? Everything sounds great. I so want to do it. I love everything we've talked about. I just need to think about it. Who's heard that one? We hear this one a lot. And so what do you think? Okay, so play along with me here. What do you think? Heard it and use it? Yes. Actually, I just used it with the coach that I wasn't re-engaging. Yes. There's nothing wrong with it. So let's talk about when people use this. I need to think about it. What might be, for those of you that have used it, and I'll share with you my reason for using it, what might be some of the reasons people are saying, I need to think about it? Value isn't clear. Yes. Could be that they don't fully understand the value. They're taking time to process. They need time to process. Yes. Scared of the unknown. Yes. Fear, for sure. I see fear coming up. Scared, Leanne. Yes. I'm not convinced it's right. Exactly. I need to check with the spouse when spending this much. Absolutely. Yes, Tammy, to avoid confrontation. Yes, we all don't want to be rejected and we don't want to make people mad. So if we say no, it's hard to say no. So the answer could very well be no, but they're just not saying it to avoid confrontation. They know they don't want to buy, but they don't want to say so. Exactly, Megan. Yes. So all these different reasons, lack of confidence, uncertain what their spouse or significant other might say. Absolutely. So all of these pieces, outside validation to give them permission to say yes. Yes, Christine, good one. Yes. Okay. So all of those things, right? And here's the thing. We don't know why they're saying they need time to think. And how often do we say, okay, take your time and get back to me when you're ready, or let me follow up with you in a couple days and see where you're at. So here again, when this is the objection and it's just, we don't really know what's happening, we can lean into it. Okay, that's awesome. I'm happy to give you as much time as you need. This is a big decision. What are you hoping to gain by taking some time to think? Or what is it that you have questions about yet that's causing you some confusion about making this decision? So lean into and uncover, what is it really about? Why do you really want to take some time to think? And again, is it action oriented? Oh, I just need to take a look at my finances and see where things are at and see where I can pull some money from and see how I can make this work. Or is it, oh, I want to talk to my husband again and get his take and see what to do there. Or is it, I just want to take some time for no reason? What will you do in that time? What will you do in the time that you're taking to make this decision? So this is where you can, again, lean into and uncover, what is the purpose of the time to think? So you can help them get clarity and set some intention about what they want to get out of the time and the space that they're creating, right? So lean into that. I need some time to think. So rather than even just setting up a follow-up call right away, lean into it and then help problem solve what the time is that they need to think, right? So again, it could be, I got to take a look at some finances, or okay, so what ideas do you have about where you're going to look for those finances? So it's like you can help hold them accountable to the things they want to do in the time that they're taking to think. I want to have a conversation with my husband. How do you suppose that conversation with your husband's going to go? How will he respond to this? And what if he does respond that way? Then what will you do? Start playing it out, right? So just keep leaning into the objection. Then, okay, so you're leaning into the objection again, right? You're leaning into the deeper questions and getting clarity about what do you need to help you make this decision easier. And this is also where a lot of times I'll say, listen, there's another way that fear shows up and that we can sabotage our success, and it's in indecision. And ultimately, it does not matter to me what your decision is, but I'd hate for you to be in indecision for very long. So I invite you to get crystal clear, take some time, but get crystal clear in the next 24 to 48 hours. You should easily have your answer and just make the choice. Even if you don't tell me what the choice is, if I don't hear from you, no problem. I'll just know the choice is no. But I'm going to invite you to not stay in indecision and just make the choice. And if you're still really confused about the choice, just know that the choice right now is no, and that's okay. So that you're not feeling like, should I follow up? They said they wanted to, and then they ghost you and put the ball in their court. Now, this defies a lot of what's being taught out there. Follow up. But here's the second thing about overcoming the I need to think objection. And this has worked so powerfully, and you'll find your own way to do it. But I plant the seed with prospects that need some time to think. I plant the seed, and just because I know my clients so well, I say, all my clients are super intuitive. So I say, listen, your intuition is going to tell you exactly what's right for you. I'm not going to follow up. I don't follow up because my clients, here's the seed. My clients, they know when it's the right fit for them, and they trust their intuition at a level that they always come back when it's the right time. So I'm not going to follow up. I'm not going to chase you down. You are more than capable of making this choice. My suggestion is tune into your intuition, make a fast decision. And I just know, because my clients know, they just always come back. It doesn't require follow-up. It doesn't require anything of back and forth. It's just that once the decision is made, it's made and we move forward. So I plant that seed right away for my clients. And those that then, one, their intuition kicks in really fast. So within usually 24 to 48 hours, they're like, I'm in. And sometimes it's weeks later, and that's okay too. But that relieves me of this back and forth follow up and still just checking in. Where are you at with that decision? It just takes it off the table and just like completely surrenders and releases it to take its own path, and ultimately empowers your prospect to make the choice on their own. Like just make the choice, whatever it is. And it releases them. If they are terrified of rejection and they don't want to say no, you basically allow them to say no for themselves without having to say no. Yes, maybe a little enabling, but more than anything, I can tell you in the past, I would have lists of people to follow up with who said, I want to know more and reach back out to me in a month. And it was so time consuming to constantly be like keeping track of when do they want me to follow up and when are they ready and when aren't they ready? And it's just when they're ready. And the more that we're holding on to some of the old stale energy, especially as you're going into a new year, the old contacts, the old where you feel like it's like the boundary hasn't been set, do whatever we can to just get closure on anything that still feels open. And a lot of times you can create that closure. So if you've got a bunch of people that you're waiting to follow up with and maybe you're not hearing from, somehow wrap some closure in it. Maybe the next message is, all right, I know I've reached out to you a number of times and I'm starting to wonder if I'm bugging you a little bit, and I would hate to bug you. So if I don't hear back from you in the next couple of days, I'm just going to assume that you don't want to interact like this anymore, and that's perfectly okay, and I won't bug you anymore. So then you can at least know that you're closing the door on it in some way. Because if it's open, you can just feel these little hooks in your business, and you just want to cut those cords. That's all I have for overcoming objections. Now I remembered myself. Her other question was, what if people don't ask the price? Because again, and I mentioned that this happens with that sales process that I taught in the other training. Sometimes the benefits are so clear that they don't even ask what the investment is. And I think I covered it a little bit, but as soon as you state the investment, again, if you feel like they're not asking the price and they're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Sure. When do we start? Shoot me the contract. And you're like, still, okay, they haven't even asked what the investment is yet, then you can just simply just say, okay, so that's awesome. I'll shoot you over the contract. And just so that you can plan for it, the investment for the program is XYZ. What other questions do you have? And again, just ask, what other questions do you have? And then if they say anything like, whoa, or if you just feel like, oh, or whatever, like you just feel the energy to stop, again, be willing to be bold. Be willing to call people out on what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, especially if you're intuitive, you just know things, you can feel energy. And usually you can anyways, even if you don't see yourself as super intuitive. And you can just say things. So for example, this actually happened with a client of mine. We were on a call, and I also set the stage in the agenda. I say, I'm going to probably be asking you some tough questions, and I'm super intuitive. And if you are closed off or resistant, it's going to be hard for me to access information to really support you. So I'm going to ask that you be open. And if you're not willing to be open, then it's going to be challenging for us to even continue this call. It'll just be a waste of time. So I set the stage with that. So this particular client, I did that, but I could still feel her resistance, just knowing I couldn't really get the information that I could use to really help her in the call. And I could just feel the resistance. It was like she was trepidatious and she was resistant, and we get to the offer and she's still resistant. Technically, probably it was not a good idea to even make the offer because I could feel the resistance. But then finally it ate at me enough, back to this being bold. I said, listen, I can't help but notice that I'm intuitively feeling like there's a lot of resistance coming from you. And I just want to know, it's okay if you don't want to have this conversation. Like, we can just end it. It's no big deal. And she said, actually, I am feeling a little resistant. And it was awesome learning opportunity because she said, I've watched your webinars and everything about you just feels so in alignment with where I want to go. But one of the emails that I got from your assistant rubbed me the wrong way. And my assistant didn't write it. I wrote it. It's not my assistant's fault. Like, it was an email I wrote that she sent. And it was like, oh, okay. And I revisited the email and I was like, she was dead on. Like, it wasn't fully in alignment with who I am and my brand. It was a little harsh and just not cool. And so one, I was so grateful because I got information then that I could shift in my own business that was out of alignment. And two, just by calling it out, I could serve her higher. And so then I was able to acknowledge and validate, like, of course you felt that way. Here you have this one experience with me and it feels a little bit off. And then we're hopping on this call and I'm asking you all these private questions, and no wonder why you're feeling resistant. And I ended the call with saying, listen, I don't know if you're up for this. I took responsibility. I said, I apologize for that experience. And I just said, I don't know if you're up for this, but I'd love to have another conversation, just wipe the slate clean and actually just talk for real. You let your guard down. If you're willing to accept my apology, let's just start over. And she said, I'd love that. So we hopped on a second call and she became a high-end client. It's so be willing to just share, right? Just share what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and communicate about it. All right, so let me check in here. Love this technique. Awesome, Adam. I want clients that make a choice, not indecisive people. Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Leanne, I agree with the follow-up piece. I always feel desperate and that they are in charge. But if they're going to pay me, I need to be in charge. Does that make sense? Yes, exactly. This is a piece of the red rope policy that we're talking about too. It's being in that place of authority. Every single one of you, like this probably, like you all know I'm pretty emotional anyways, but this moves me to tears. Every single one of you are holding on to one of the most amazing gifts you could ever give somebody. That gift is cherished. That gift is powerful. And if we're chasing people to give them a gift, if they have a hard time receiving or creating that win partnership around that gift, we can release. They're just not ready. And when we know that the gift that we're giving, that is so powerful and so miraculous and so transformational, then that's the authority piece. Then it's like we can hold it for the people, for the right people. So yeah, you all have that gift. Give it wisely. Okay, someone said yesterday, I greatly appreciate your help. This is from Leanne. I greatly appreciate your help, but your hourly rate is significantly out of my price range. I gave a package price, not an hourly rate price. Yes, this is such an awesome question, Leanne. Yes. Okay. So they said hourly rate. So they did the math, right? People are like, whoa. if I were paying that much an hour, if I were paid that much an hour, like they're thinking like, wow, that's 8 times more an hour than I'm getting paid. So when that comes up, it's like, it's the Picasso thing comes to mind too. It takes him 5 minutes to paint and then he charges however money, because it's like your lifetime of experience, your lifetime of learning, of growth, the time that's saved, the shortcuts. But again, then all of a sudden you can feel like you're going into convincing mode. And so a lot of times I'll just say, yeah, I can see how when you look at it as the hourly rate, it would seem really high. Yet much of the work that we're doing is happening outside of the session. And in fact, at the end of the day, more, what is this accomplishing this goal worth to you? Because I know this process is what's going to help you accomplish that goal. And the time that we have in session and the time and the work that you're investing and that I'm investing outside of that session is what accomplishes that goal. So what's the value of the goal? What's the value of that benefit? Because that's actually what you're investing in. You're not investing in my time. So I, a lot of times will just say that it's really not, that the reason why it's a package is that there's a lot of other things built in that they may not be able to see or understand. And a lot of times that does come in the realm of, if you give them unlimited email access, or if you give them other opportunities to connect with you, blast calls, or whatever it may be, it's really, what's it worth? And at least this is how I frame it. Because when people step into really full-blown private clients with me, it's what's it worth to you to have a right-hand woman supporting you every step of the way in accomplishing your goals, so you don't have to do it alone, right? So that we're short, because the expertise that you have is shortcutting the time that it would take for them to learn. So it's also, what is your time worth? Because we're creating these results in a much shorter amount of time than it would have taken you otherwise. So there's a lot of ways around it. I hope that helped a little bit, but a lot of ways around it. But more like just saying that what happens in the sessions is, yes, a piece of the time, but there's a lot of other time that is invested in other ways that get the results. How about pricing for family and friends? Awkwardness. I actually never did that, just because, and again, it's totally personal choice. It's more like, how can you confidently step into, so I'll just share what I did when I first launched my coaching practice. Was I just had an introductory rate, whether it was friends and family or anybody else. It was just like, this is where I'm starting. This is my introductory rate, and the rates will be going up after my first 5 clients. And so the advantage to the family and friends is, if you think you want to experience XYZ results, you're going to want to explore this now, because after the first of the year, after 5 clients say yes to this price, the pricing will be going up. Part of that being that I've had situations where clients were paying one price and then other clients were paying another price because it was in the middle of a price increase. And it just feels, I don't know, awkward, or not awkward, out of integrity. But again, it wouldn't feel out of integrity for everybody. That's just how I felt. I was like, you know what? My friends and family deserve as much of a transformation as anybody else. And if they're just doing this to appease me, again, it's like all of the intentions that then our friends and family come in with. It's, oh, I just want to do you a favor, and it's not that much money. And so then it's easy for me to do you this favor. And then it's, to me, it's like, why would we want to deprive our friends and family of stepping into their big vision at the same level we want everybody else to step into their big vision, which a lot of times is through investment. So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay, awesome. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for piping in and sharing this space with me in the new year. And I am guessing, like the other sales training, this is going to be one of those that you're going to be coming back to over and over again. If there are 2 things that dramatically increase results in your business and growing your business, it's learning how to market predominantly by leveraging written word, lots of copywriting, and or video. So being able to really speak and share your message, and sales. Without those 2 things, it is hard to have a business. So really stepping into mastery of sales is going to be one of your biggest tickets to growing your business. So I'm so glad I could share this with you, and have an awesome day. Goodbye, everybody.